Bada boom, bada bing, just like that. We are live, Triple T, number 106. Welcome, everybody. January 9th, 2024. And we are live all across the place, live on YouTube. Hi, Mom. And for those of you on YouTube, we'll go through all the YouTube stuff, of course. Please click the subscribe, ring the bell, leave comments, and then I like to say leave comments on your comments. Anybody else hearing feedback? Let me double check to make sure.
I think that's there's somebody in a car just idling outside my window. So I think that's what you're hearing.
Hey now. They're listening in because everybody wants to hear about Triple T. What else we got? We got a website, thetswb.com. I also give 30-minute consultations. That's your free time to ask me anything and see if we're a fit. If we're a fit, I will let you know. If we're not, I will also let you know. And I will help you find somebody in my network or any network so that we get you the solutions that you're looking for. Did I even say my name? I don't know. One of those nights. If I didn't, I'll say it again. My name's TJ Zel. I lovingly, jokingly, all the above, refer to myself as a professional problem solver, which I always have to follow up. No, I don't know everything, but I have a unique way of asking questions to help you get down to the solution as quickly as possible. What else we got? I think, wow, covered that in record bumbling time, just like watching a little train wreck down the hill. But as long as we got to the bottom, kind of like the person that slipped on the top step of the stairs and got to the bottom. Wow, that went quick, but we're here. Yes, as you can tell, I'm very serial. I tell people if you got to be cereal, at least be a Fruit Loop or Count Chocolate. At least then you get chocolate milk when you're done. Yeah, looks like it's going to be one of those nights. Hey, Mark, good to see you. What else we got? Oh, we got all sorts of fun stuff, but we always, I know. Started something last week. New to the year, wearing a new tie, each Triple T. So tonight, this one goes out to Stephanie Skiba, who this was her favorite tie. Skiba-dooby-doo. My Scooby-Doo tie. That's right. What else we got? We got, anybody got any ahas, epiphanies, things to share from the week since we've seen each other last? Bueller? Yes, please.
I thought Holly was popping on. So I am officially launching in the coming weeks my very first course called How to Stop Negative Self-Talk. And I'm very excited about it. And I know I mentioned a couple weeks ago that TJ had to actually introduce me to Holly Mignosi, and she is a complete and total rock star. And yes. Oh my goodness, the things that she shares and makes so much beautiful sense is absolutely extraordinary. So I got to work with her today again. And I'm a huge fan of Holly.
Yes, same here. I feel blessed because I've got two amazing Hollies in my tribe and adorable.
So true.
Yeah.
Love that.
Oh, I was just going to say that's amazing. Sorry. Hopefully it's not too much feedback.
Oh, you're fine. Anything else?
I mean, I have a lot of stuff, but I will be asking those questions in the second hour of ideas that came to my mind. But yes, it's been amazing.
Cool. And for those of you that are tuning in for the first time, or watching for the first time, my layout for Triple T is the first hour. I have at least 3 topics for the week. Try to get through them. Sometimes we luckily get through 2 of the 3. And then the second hour is open platform, open mic, because I like to learn as well. So if you've got any topics or questions that have been chewing away at you, second hour is the time to bring them up, and I let everybody on the call answer first. And if I've got anything to add to it, I will add that when it's appropriate towards the end. If we have no other input from anybody, last call, then I will get to the topics. Topics this week: laughter, celebrity or fan, and authoritative identity. Topics have been sealed in a sealed envelope on an airtight container on Funk and Ragnall's porch. In case any of you remember Johnny Carson. But let's get on with it. Laughter. I'm going through an archive training with Scott Sandland, and I knew I should have wrote it down. I think it's Mark Ellman. I apologize for the loss there, but it's on pain management, helping clients with pain. And they had been talking about how important a sense of humor and comedy and getting your clients to laugh, especially for building rapport. It's an amazing way to get clients to relax, build rapport, especially in the beginning. Sandlin brought up an amazing point where, especially if you can throw in a joke that is in regards to what they're going through, but you do it in such an a roundabout, obscure way, vaguely specific, as I like to say. Yeah, I knew this guy who was talking about this person who was going through the same thing you are, which then it's not associated with you or them. It's simply a story. And then you tell the joke, and you get them to laugh about the condition that they're dealing with at the time. Saturday morning, I got up at it wasn't even remotely close to the time of dawn, but our Australia group was doing a training. And so with the help of a large mug of coffee and just the joy of being with Miss Fran and the rest of the group, one of the things that came up was laughter and how important laughter is. And somebody actually, again, I wish I would have written down who said it, but they said laughter is a power pose. Those of you that understand power poses and understand the power of laughter understand how, when I heard that, I had the same reaction that I saw on your faces, like, ooh, yeah, right, very much so, yep, laugh it off. It also made me reflect on the number of times I've gotten in trouble for laughing when people didn't understand something critical happened. And some people will scream, some people will cry, some people will whatever. I have a tendency to laugh. It's an energy release for me. And they're like, how can you laugh at a time like this? I'm like, it's better. It helps me focus. I'm certainly not saying this situation is funny, but my laughter helps a lot more than your screaming. Just saying. It also is a kind of in line with how people are taught how to deal with suffering and pain. In the training that I was watching, Sandlin pointed out that in a study, single only children, what do you call it? Single children, only child will have a different reaction to pain than children who have multiple siblings. And typically the oldest child will react to pain differently than the youngest child of multiple siblings. And yeah, you're right, Mark. Laughter builds comfort and comfort builds trust. That's a great correlation. Thank you. But what he pointed out was something that I was very aware of. The first child, oh my goodness, the parents are so hyper protective, and the example that Mark used was you can tell at the park how many kids parents have by what happens when the baby drops the bottle. First child, baby drops the bottle, everybody, time to go home, get a new bottle. Second child, baby drops the bottle, you've already got a second bottle because you learned babies drop bottles. Third child and further, baby drops the bottle, pick the bottle up, wipe the nipple off on your pants leg a couple of times and put it right back in the kid's mouth. First child, kid trips and falls. Oh my gosh, are you okay? Are you okay? Oh. And the kid learns how to deal with pain. Third child trips and falls. You're fine, get up, brush it off. Now, I think that things have changed a bit on the first child, whatever rule, since I was a child versus what I've been witnessing lately. When I was a kid, even then, first child, trip and fall, it was, are you okay? Yep, you're okay. Brush it off, walk it off, you're going to be fine. Versus some of the stuff that I've witnessed, yeah, third child, rub some dirt in it. And now it's like fifth child, all 5 kids are looking like the Michelin Man when they're going to go out to play because they've got the knee pads and the helmet and the shoulder pads and the protective gloves and the steel-toed shoes and I dare say I don't want to sound like an old fuddy, but watching some of the stuff that they call comedy now, there's so much belittling and personal attacks in a lot of the comedy that I see now, in a vicious scale where even, I'm going to date myself here a bit, when you watched like the classic Dean Martin roasts, they were attacks, but they were at such a different type of clean humor that you were busting a gut. And I made the mistake of trying to watch some of the uh, roasts that came out, I'd say probably in the last 10 years, and literally was so disgusted within a few minutes at how vulgar and personal the attacks were that I couldn't watch it anymore. And so I think that laughter and clean humor is needed more now than ever. Little personal part here, when I was in college, I actually got in trouble like 3 times because I was running to school a little late. Joys of working a couple of different jobs while you're still going to college, and I have been a little bit of a partier, but I digress. And the teacher caught me in the library reading the funnies in the newspaper when they knew I was supposed to be in their class. And they're like, "What are you doing in here? You're supposed to be in class." And I said, "Well, I haven't read my funnies yet." And they're like, "What?" I said, "Do you drink coffee when you get up in the morning?" "What's that got to do with it?" "Do you drink coffee in the morning?" "Well, yeah, I don't. This is my coffee. I don't want you showing up at the classroom without your morning coffee. You don't want me showing up at your classroom without my morning coffee. This is my coffee. I'll be there in just a bit." I was still getting great grades. I mean, I was on the dean's list like 4 times, 5 times. But those of you that know me, I love making people laugh. I love making people smile. I love to entertain. And so when I heard Sandlin talking about the importance of laughter and comedy when working with clients, I wholeheartedly agree. And I challenge those of you that don't think you're funny or you have problems telling jokes, learn a couple of jokes. Learn 5 of your favorites and have them as what we call a catch file, so that you at least got a couple that you can throw out there. And I'm sure most of you that are watching right now, but if you're watching this recording or whatever, I've lost count of how many years now, how many years ago I started on Facebook what I call Friday Funnies on my Facebook profile, and that's my day where all of my friends and contacts on Facebook get to post their favorite funny memes on my profile. And I've had times where there've been over 200 posts. But I had a very interesting thing happen probably within the first year. I'd forget to post first thing in the morning, and all of a sudden I would get a direct message from somebody, hey, where's my Friday funnies? And I didn't know, I didn't realize how important it had become until people started reaching out to me, because I was going by the amount of likes and clicks that I was not getting on the funny memes that I'd posted. And yet, people that I didn't see liking anything on there were telling me how much they look forward to it. Because again, laughter, entertainment is that important to our psyche. And now I find it interesting that 5 of my friends have started their own. They're still posting on mine, but now they're starting their own. And I'll be with you in just a minute, Lenore. I remember the first time that Paul started doing his own, that I got just a little twinge of, what? No, that's my idea. And then it hit me right away, thankfully, that I went, but Paul has so many friends that are not my friends. And I don't care if he takes every single one of my memes and reposts them on his, because together we're reaching that many more people. And now one of my friends in Norway is doing the same thing. And luckily, their Friday shows up before ours does. So I get to see him late Thursday, and I get to steal some of his. But of course, there's plenty of them in Norwegian that I can't post because I only know like 5 people in Norway. And so anyhow, Lenora, thank you for your patience. You had your hand up?
Okay, so I have a question.
Yes, question.
Can you guys share your thoughts about comedy, especially in the work that we do? Because when I first, and I've worked with TJ a couple of times, and there are times where when he first started to introduce humor into something that I was upset about, my brain was very confused. But it's also something that has been helpful over time to help shift the focus and to interrupt the thought process and to shift the energy. So it's very, very helpful. I was just very surprised in that. So if you guys have experienced that, how you do it tactfully and gracefully and humorously and with great enjoyment, I'm very interested in that. So by all means, please share.
Holly.
I'll jump in on that. This is actually something I was probably going to say with everything just in general, and then also something specific to that. So first of all, I'd say with your humor, there's a big difference between laughing with somebody and laughing at somebody. And I think that, and you could tell the almost exact same joke about the exact same thing and have it be with somebody and at somebody. The other thing with that particular concept, look and see how they're taking it. See, are they laughing with you, or is this too sensitive for them? And if not, maybe even probe a little bit. Why is it that you're not laughing with me? Not that you ask it in those words necessarily. So read the nonverbals when it's happening. But another thing that just keeps coming up into my mind with this whole conversation is somebody once told me that if you really think about it, laughter is actually tends to cause us pain. And sometimes pain in the right doses is exactly what we need to feel alive, to release a whole bunch of chemicals in response to that. So the oxytocin, the dopamine. And so, if laughter and whatever, part of the package is pain, and that's part of what makes it powerful. Because it's telling us, hey, pain's okay. Pain is safe. Pain is part of growth. And there's a good response to it, if that makes sense.
That's really interesting. I never thought of it like that. I never even heard of it like that.
Yeah. And I've told this story on here before, and I'll tell it again, and hopefully I won't get as emotional as I normally do, but about I saw an interview with a clean comedian who had a hospital reach out to him, and they asked him to do a 3-day show at the hospital, and he said he was hurting for work at the time. He was like, yes. And then how much are you paying? And they're like, well, we're a hospital, we can't really pay you. But he'd already said yes. And he was like, all right, I guess I can use the practice. And he showed up and he did his 3-day show. And on the third night after he finished, I forgot to mention, it was in a cancer ward. And the third night after he finished, a lady came up to him and said, I hope you understand how powerful your medicine is. And he was like, huh? She said, I have chronic pain from cancer. I'm in pain all the time. The medicine doesn't help. And I came to the show the first night, and when I went back to my room, it hit me that I had not felt pain for 2 hours during your entire show. And so I came back the second night just to verify. And again, for 2 hours straight, I had zero pain. And I came back tonight for your medicine, and again, for 2 hours, I had zero pain. Here I go. Please understand how powerful your medicine is. And he said, from that moment on, he had never understood how important laughter was. He enjoyed it, but he didn't understand how important it was for people. And now he donates his time to hospitals all the time. And I think we need kind of the same thing with what we're doing, because people don't come to us first. Like Dr. David Snyder likes to joke, people come to us because they can't find witch doctor in the yellow pages. And if they come to us for pain, like Mark Sandlin pointed out, they come to us finally for pain because many things haven't worked, which means they've been in pain for years. And we're the last resort. And if we'll all have our own style. I've learned that with all the different people that I've met and going to Hypnothoughts Live a number of years, which again, I get to present. I'm honored to be able to present again this year. But I would like for you guys, if you had never thought of utilizing humor and laughter in your process, please try it. In fact, on the training that I did Saturday night with the Australia group, they brought up a clip where a guy's doing laughter yoga because he's proven that the body doesn't know the difference between spontaneous and manufactured laughter. And so he just holds these trainings and these workshops and stuff where he just has people laugh hard on purpose for like 10, 15 minutes. And they'll go through all these ha 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 and go around. They're high-fiving each other and all this stuff. And the releases that they've documented are unquestionable. So it goes right back to proving the importance of comedy, humor, laughter And again, thank you for sharing, Lenora. Yes, I sometimes will throw out certain styles of comedy at in right in the face of this traumatic event, and it's a shock. You're like, wait a minute, are you? Did you really say that? Yeah, I did. Yes, Ladora.
I agree. I agree with Holly when she had said, it's about how you deliver it. And to your absolute 1,000% credit, anytime you've inserted humor, it was never making fun of me. It was inserting humor appropriately. And I have a smidge of a history of being a little defensive and thinking that everybody is making fun of me. So to your credit, never once have you done that. So thank you for not doing that and for adding it as you have.
Thank you. Mark.
I have a friend of mine that laughing yoga started in India, and a friend of mine, Dr. Raj Trivedi, was the North American chairman of the Laughing Yoga Society here in America. And yeah, I mean, it's really, sometimes laughter can break tension, like at the beginning of the movie Gladiator. Russell Crowe's riding in front of his troops, and he says, if you find yourself walking in beautiful fields and beautiful sky, don't worry about it because you're dead, and everybody laughs. So sometimes leaders use laughter to break tension, and I think laughter does do that. It breaks tension sometimes that needs to be broken, or it causes a release that we need.
Yes, thank you, and I appreciate you sharing that. It's how cool that you got to meet somebody that's right in line with laughter yoga. Jade.
Yeah, I think laughter is definitely one of the best medicines, and I think that's why, even in history, a lot of times they say, there are so many comedians that are Jewish because of some of the trauma that they went through, and they'll talk about how sometimes the only thing that you can even do is laugh. I also think, though, one-on-one, if you're, for example, in a session, or if you're with someone who's, kind of in the midst of their emotions still, there's this sort of moment that happens, and I think I think it happens on a very intuitive level. It's kind of like when you're dealing with a child, right? There's a kind of a balance between allowing them to feel what they're feeling.
Yes.
And have that be validated. And at the same time, there's this like space that happens once they've felt their feelings, and there's this little shift that happens. That's the right moment where they're ready for a shift of energy. And I think that's the perfect time for a joke or something funny. And it really shifts the energy. And I think that's why, I don't know if you've heard of the technique, fast phobia. There's probably all kinds of different names for it. But I think that's why that technique is so powerful. I know for me personally, I used that on an experience I had in the past that was extremely traumatizing, where I almost I had like a near-death experience. And, part of that technique, and I always explain this to people because it sounds terrible when you first say it, but it's like, try to make it funny. What would have to happen in order for it to be funny? And, when I look at it that way, it's like, it doesn't have to make it funny. But if it possibly could be funny, what would have to happen in order for it to be? And what that does is it causes a shift. So for me, for example, when it was such a traumatic experience, it didn't necessarily make it funny, but what it did do was it shifted the energy so that it wasn't as intense. So for, if it's something that's light, then yeah, the person may end up laughing at it after, and it may be hilarious. Even just, for example, changing somebody's tone of voice somebody that said something, you know, negative to you, and listening to it and like, you know, as if they sucked in air from a helium balloon. Every time you imagine that, it's funny after that. So it depends on the intensity, but that's what it does, definitely. I think it's that powerful. It really shifts the energy.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Jade. Yes, I do that uh, all the time with my clients, especially those that are dealing with when it comes to things that were said to them. My way of proving to them that it's not the words, it's the energy you recorded in the words and the recording that you made. So I'll have them go back and say the exact same words first, how they recorded it. And I will get them to where they're sometimes sobbing, because I won't let them just say the words. I'm like, no, I want to hear it exactly how you recorded it. I want to hear the volume. I want to hear the intensity. I want to hear, and I've heard some vicious, nasty, vile, oh my, but I'm like, no, I want to hear it. And then after they say that, then I have them do it in Goofy from Disney voice. Then I'll have them do it in Mickey Mouse. Then I have them do it in Minnie Mouse, which they have to go even higher. But I'll have them, when they do the original, I ask them what color energy is in it. And usually it's black or, you know, feces, brown, blah, blah, blah. Then I have them do Goofy. Oh, you're such a hook. And that changed the energy. And then Mickey, and then a lot of times when they finish with Minnie, the energy's pink and they're laughing. And I go, amazing. Do you realize you just said the exact same words while you were giggling? Well, I said, yeah, it's not the words. It was the way you recorded it, the energy you put into it. That is how it affected you. And the other thing I like to ask them is, now what if a homeless drunk meth head on the sidewalk would have said the exact same words to you while you were walking by out of the blue? What energy is in that? They're like, yes. So you added extra energy because you knew the person that said it to you. And yet they were just words. And usually when I point out the drunk homeless meth head, you know, cracks them up a little bit as well. And it dawned on me when Lenora was sharing that I use comedy as a form of fractionation. I will take my clients on a literal roller coaster ride of emotions and fractionations, and the comedy takes them back to the, you know, if you're on a roller coaster and you're doing the deep dive, you're like, ah! And then you get that nice little slow curve. That's where I throw my comedy in, to let them catch their breath, laugh a little bit, release some of the energy, thinking that the ride's almost over. And then I toss them back down to get in even deeper, to pull out whatever's left, throw them through a corkscrew, and, you know, see if I can get them to scream with their hands in the air.
Pretty accurate.
She says with a smile on her face.
In fairness, change has always occurred. So ultimately, we got the outcome we wanted.
Awesome. Mark.
I had a client just before the holidays, and he's a very intense man. He's very successful because of his intensity. You know, he's a hammer, and you know, if you're a hammer, after a while, everything starts to look like a nail. But I asked, you know, I got him in a better state. I got him laughing. I said, you got to take that serious stick out of your butt. That way you won't be so intense, because he had family to deal with. His wife was telling him, yeah, you're just too intense. So I said, okay, we got to take that serious stick out. And he pantomimed removing the serious stick from his butt. And like he reached out, he smelled it. He's like, oh, that stinks. He put it in the corner of my office. I said, all right, you're not allowed to have that back until after the holidays. You can't be a hammer. You got to be a squeaky hammer. And so he had a much better holiday interactions with family, with other people, because he got the serious stick out of his butt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. Again, that's why I wanted to bring this up, to share with everybody the absolute importance of laughter and comedy. And there are so many ways of it. Well, and I've heard people that, well, I'm just not funny. I'm like Mark pointed out, that obviously they've got a serious stick in a private spot that's, but it can be learned. That's why they have classes for improv and comedy, and there are YouTube. There's plenty of stuff out there to learn about timing, and even professional. When you a lot of people don't understand professional stand-up comedians will tell you there is a recipe for what they do. And in the timing and the delivery and reading the crowds and having, there were times where, what's his name? Starts with an S. Seinfeld.
Jerry?
Yeah, had been seen in a comedy club, just a little hole in the wall comedy club, and they're like, was that? No, that couldn't have been him. He's big time. But he went there to try out some new material and to listen to other stand-ups to inspire new material. And that's part of, there have been many times when I've often said, with all my years of bartending, DJing, and just loving to be around people that love to laugh, tell jokes and everything, had I recorded every joke that I've heard, it would be a book about this thick in small print. Comedians in cars getting coffee with Jerry Seinfeld is excellent. Cool. I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, I'm sure it's on some platform that you can watch, but he talks about how he does his process, and these other comedians also talk about their process of how they craft and what they do, and it's absolutely extraordinary. Very, very interesting.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I haven't shared with too many people. I've actually been working on a stand-up routine, just with a bunch of the stuff that I've come up with, like Grandma with the Iron Fist. I think you've heard about that one, the little ladies in the bottom of the Lutheran church. You don't want to mess with those grandmas. I know, I grew up with them. They make coffee that will dissolve metal spoons. And they'll drink the whole pot, and then they will go home and push mow the whole front yard while doing 6 loads of laundry and making supper for a family of 6. And Grandma had a Kirby vacuum that she would run with her right arm while stirring and ironing. And if she ever hit you with that thing, it will kill a goat. Right to the forehead, goat dead. Grandpa comes home, what? Where's the goat? It was eating my roses. You killed the lawnmower? Grandpa goes, ooh, right arm. Okay, I'm out. Because he knows. He's seen that in action. You guys are like, where did you grow up? Mayberry, Minnesota. Where do you think? It's even funnier when it's true. Holly.
I just kind of had a thought about just comedy in general. If you don't tell a lot of jokes, one of the first places to start is think about I was thinking about the aspect of vulnerability specifically. Go through and say, what am I most embarrassed about myself? And what are my most awkward experiences? You don't tell jokes about the time you drove to work and nothing happened. It's if you could take your most awkward experiences, your most embarrassing moments, and look at them and say, what if it wasn't a tragedy? What if it wasn't embarrassing? What if it was just funny? And tell that story as if it was just funny. Not only do you transform it for yourself to make it funny, but those are going to be the things that give you your best stories, your best jokes. That aspect of vulnerability and of seeing the awkward, the weird, the tragedy in a completely different light.
Amen. Amen. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I do it all the time. It's actually one of my ways to deal with anger. If I can tell it to somebody in a comedic way and get people to laugh about the situation, they're like, oh, that's terrible. I'm like, yeah, freaking terrible. How can you laugh about it? I'm like, well, I either have to laugh about it or I'd have to throat punch them, and I don't get put in jail for laughter. So there's that. And that brings us to 14 minis left for 2 more topics, which those of you that have been around Triple T for a while know this is common. So any more stuff on laughter comedy before we dive into celebrity or fan? That one actually might not take so long, but we'll find out. Yes, no? All right. If you think of a good joke, you can tell it in the second hour. Celebrity or fan came out of an interesting quote by one of my clients the other day. And she's going through Triple P. Actually, she graduated from Triple P now and is in a very amazing place. She's waiting for her king, has stepped up 30 rungs in who her king will be. And I have no doubt she's going to get it because she's actually dated went out with 4 or 5 different guys, and each one was a major step up. But one of the things she said was, if you treat them like a celebrity, they'll treat you like a fan. She said, you have to be straight up honest, who you are from the beginning, and understand that they're still a human, just as you are. If you set them high on this pedestal and revere them as a celebrity, they will not only look at you, but they will treat you as a fan. Yeah, that one kind of caught me too. I was like, wow, been there, done that. But the other thing that hit me on that is, if you're the fan, do you really feel that you have the connection? Will you put in the work that you think that it takes to date the celebrity? Or will you allow it to be a flash in the pan for bragging rights, and then look for something that you feel fits your level. I've been there, I've done that. That's why I'm part of what is inside of Triple P. And that's why I push the journaling so hard, even with people who are married. Because it's an introspective and ectospective, if that's the word, look at the relationship to keep it real and to keep it growing. And so if you're in a relationship, is there the opportunity where you are the fan to a celebrity or vice versa? Or are you both on an even keel level? I don't even want to be a celebrity dating a celebrity, because Hollywood proves to us all the time that doesn't matter how rich or beautiful they are, someone is sick of their feces. Some of the most beautiful examples of human beings on the planet physically, and some of the most affluent and rich people are in Hollywood. And they've only been divorced or in and out of relationships like how many times? Almost like the in and out door at the restaurant to the kitchen on a busy night. People almost running into each other at the door. But they're so beautiful and they're so rich. They're a celebrity. I'd rather find another fan of a celebrity like that so we have a lot in common. Holly.
Sorry, I wanted to give you a chance to finish what you're saying, just putting my hand up to say.
Yep.
Gosh, that hit hard. A couple things I've been thinking about a lot this week also just kind of clicked into place. Because I was thinking about it, there are some people in this world that have to be the celebrity in every single relationship they're in because they need that control, and the celebrity sometimes has the control. And person to person, you have to be vulnerable. You have to negotiate. You have to sometimes give, sometimes take. And then there are some people who perpetually have to be the fan because they're afraid of rejection, and everybody loves a fan, right? And I don't have to step up and be an equal. I don't have to step up to take responsibility. And most importantly, there's that chance of rejection. And so once again, it comes down to vulnerability, really getting to know somebody, getting to negotiate, seeing the good and the bad. A real relationship is very different than going into every relationship needing to be a celebrity or needing to be a fan.
Very well said. I'm so glad you shared that. Yes, exactly. So I wanted to bring that up, especially for those of you. Well, now that we're, in the new year and everybody has these resolutions, we're in week 2 of the resolution, going strong. Only missed one day so far. Any other ahas, epiphanies, things that you guys want to share on that topic? Did you, Jade forgot to write them this year. For many years, I had the exact same resolution. I just wanted to pay better bills, which always got looks from people like, what? I don't want to pay any bills. I'm like, no, I want to pay bills. I want to pay really good bills. I want to pay a bill on a better vehicle. I would like to pay a better bill on better, on a better vacation. Still got to pay it. So if you got to pay a bill, pay a better bill. But Jade, did you catch, was it the triple T where I went over resolutions?
I think I missed most of that one. I think I showed up right towards the end when I was done with a client, so I missed part of it. But I
If you
did
get a
watch a little bit
chance,
of
if you get a chance, rewatch just that one. If you have any questions, obviously, please reach out. I'll be more than happy to help you. I'm going over mine again, rewriting them. We got 5 minis left. Any more stuff on celebrity or fan? We got authoritative identity, which I'm not sure how long it'll take, but we can get it started. Looks like we're good. Okay. Authoritative identity. Anybody got any idea what that might mean?
That you stand as the authority?
What's that?
That you stand as the authority in your identity, like with yourself, you are the authority?
Great answer.
My
Who else
attempt.
has got one? Well, you'll understand when I give the explanation that I had a download on. Anybody else before I give my take on it? Okay. Authoritative identity. It came out of, again, the video of Sandlin and Hellman, where sometimes an event comes up, and I think it was Ellman was talking, you state that you have an ability, and people, because they don't know any different, believe you, and they give you much more credit or authority. In Ellman's story, he had dabbled in hypnosis a little bit here and there, and somebody, a lady that he looked up to and liked a lot, at a party was not being herself, and she was in the corner by herself, just kind of sitting there. Usually she's the center of attention. He came over and was like, "What's going on?" And long story short, she was dealing with very painful arthritis in her hands. And he goes, "Well, I'm a hypnotist. I can fix that." And he admitted in his mind, he was like, "And I just said that. Oh my gosh." She was like, "Okay, go ahead." And he did this real quick little induction that he had played with since he was a kid, and it worked. And Mark said, I've been using with clients and myself the technique TJ explained about using what do you want to be looking back on 2024 and January 20 and what was accomplished. Oh, for resolutions, thank you for sharing that. Let's talk about that in the second hour if you don't mind. I'm glad you brought that up. But back to authoritative identity, because at the time when she was desperate for some type of help, his declaration of his identity stepped in, giving him more power, but also taking on an identity for himself. And I've had to use that a number of times. The universe has put me in places where people have accidents, and unfortunately, the road right out in front of us is pretty accident prone. And as such, it has allowed me a number of times to come up and tell people, I work with this situation all the time. The worst is over. You're going to be fine. And I say it in an authoritative way. The fact that I showed up on the site, even though I'm not dressed in a uniform, it's because of the way that I established my identity with authority. I now have the ability to work with them in a much higher level. It's just like, in a hospital setting, the white lab coat carries a form of authority and identity. Uniforms. But sometimes when we have to declare an identity on our own, but Jade shared a book of healing beyond pills and potions. Is that with authoritation and identity to help people with? A lot of times, if you can, in times of chaos, the person that can step up and declare that, I'm in charge, everything's going to be fine, follow me. At that point, you have immediately brought in some type of authoritative identity through declaration. Yeah, you're right, Jade. The way we say things and the words we use that can cause healing are very important. That's why I tell people more and more people need to learn NLP, if nothing else, just for communication with each other. And that has taken us 3 minutes past the top of the hour, which means I'm into your guys' time. So any quick questions to close up authoritative identity before we change over? Oh, yeah. I completely agree, Jade. The damage we can do in authoritative position as well. A doctor can curse his patient without knowing it 1,000-fold. Amen. There was a study that brought up, do doctors really know how long a cancer patient has, or do they actually program that into the cancer patient? Oh, you've got cancer, you've got 6 months to live. And magically, how long do they live? 6 months. And the ones that hear that are go, no, you're full of it. No, only God knows how much time I have left. How dare you try and tell me how much time I've got left? And that 6 month all of a sudden becomes 6 years because they refuse to listen to that person. And I'm sure there's somebody out there that's watching this recording or video going, Are you saying they're wrong and they're just like that? No, I'm saying they need to be careful of the languaging that they use. I'm a huge proponent. There have been many times I've been in clinics and stuff where staff has said things where I'm like, did you just say that? Those of you that know me, no, I will do that. I call people out all, did you just say that? And they just, yeah, you're right, Jade. They don't know. They're not educated in it, which is, I think it's horrendous. The amount of good that they could do with language. Placebo effect. How many people could be cured by doctors that understood this? I don't care if you want to call it hypnosis, I don't care if you want to call it placebo, I don't care what you call it. The amount of good they could do if they were educated in it. Why is it that doctors are sending people with chronic pain to hypnotists? They've tried every pill and potion that they can come up with, and they finally send them to us, and we're using language. If doctors used language in their setting, how much more powerful would that be? I know I'm getting on a little soapbox here, but yes, you're right, Jade. Sadly there's a lot of money being made in being sick, but that's an entirely different topic. But that's also why I love that story about the panel of hypnotists that had some infiltrator come in and stand up. What you do is nothing more than a placebo. And thank God there was a smart, quick-witted person up on stage that went, placebo, placebo. You mean that thing that every drug manufactured on the planet is compared to with no side effects and sometimes over 70% effectiveness? Placebo. What a great endorsement. Thank you so much. The guy was like, what? And was walked out. And now we're 8 minutes into your hour. Anybody got who's going to be the first one to pop in with a question now?
Holly.
Fine, I'll go, but I want other questions too. Okay, so one of the questions I have, see if I can figure out how to word this. In the Bible, there's a phrase that talks about, casting pearls before swine. In Chinese, we might call this being Zen, which is enlightenment. I guess my big question is, how do we talk to people that maybe haven't, and I'm not trying to say, we're better than them, they're better than us sort of thing. That's not what this is about. Because we might be enlightened and educated in one area, they might be enlightened and educated in a different area. But when you're talking to someone in an area where you have much more understanding, experiences, wisdom, that they are just not capable of understanding what you have to say, but you still need to interact with that person. What are the ways that we could communicate them without sacrificing our integrity by outright lying, and also without confusing them and without putting forward our pearls before swine, so to speak, keeping those things that should be sacred, and for those who are ready to hear it, rather than those who aren't ready to hear it? How can we do that without judging them in a way that they can understand, that we could build a healthy relationship? I know I'm kind of scattered with that question, but hopefully it makes sense.
Jade, you want to answer quick?
I said, first off, don't treat them as if they're not capable. we always want to, I think, hold the space that people are capable. And the other part of it is that I think when you're talking to someone, you know, if they're not receiving the information, then I think it's something that, for example, if I'm speaking to someone and they're not receiving that information, it's more about me and what I have to work on within myself, because, you know, they might be triggering something within me that I have to work on. So maybe I'm not ready at that point.
Thank you. Appreciate that. You're right on, Lenora.
I love that, Jade. There are definitely people who activate us differently, and it takes a lot of state control. Holly, the best thing that I have found is watch your tone. We can always soften and we can share our thoughts more openly, and just something to consider or something to examine and share and look at. When we can soften our tone, people are much more responsive and much more open, especially because if we shift our tone and we can come at them with that authority that we know what we're talking about, they go the other way and it causes way more resistance. So whenever I do get into those conversations, depending on who it is, so definitely know your audience. But the first thing, if you're going to go into something, always watch your tone.
Awesome. Great answer. Anybody else before I give my 25 cents on this topic? Jade.
Yeah, I just wanted to add in one more thing. When it comes to like a lot of information, and I guess what people want to call awakening, even though I think that happens again and again and again, is really just awareness. And I think the only point of awareness is to be able to take responsibility. And taking responsibility is really difficult, and it's painful, and it's uncomfortable. And so I think sometimes it's best to be soft and easy with people, because it's not something that should be just kind of tossed around as if it wasn't, because it's responsibility, it's heavy, and people have to be ready to take on responsibility by choice. So what was it? I can't remember who said it. Maybe it was Alan Watts said something about not waking the baby. And
Yep.
I think it's similar to that. The baby's gonna wake up when it wakes up, and when you're speaking to someone, you're gonna be able to intuitively pick up on where they're at, and how to communicate in a language that fits with them, and fill out what information they're ready for. And if they're coming to you, they're probably ready. But like I said, if they don't seem ready, then maybe it's me that's not ready, right?
Absolutely. Thank you, Jade. One of the things I was going to share is the better you get at the trifecta, Echo Talk, 3 magic questions, values, and criteria, the easier it is to communicate with them and find out where they're at. But another one that I think is also important is getting really good at metaphors. Figuring out who they are so that you can pick the right metaphor to explain things to people. Because I've learned this through the years, what seems so clear to me because I have this understanding of the topic, but I understand it in the way it was explained to me, which may be something they don't understand in the topic. So if I can explain the topic using metaphors that they have in common, it's much easier to get the point across to them. And I think that's another really strong tool to have in your toolbox.
Those are all great answers. Thanks. I think I'll also throw this out here. I did kind of think of a concrete example, if this will help as well, just in case it triggers any more thoughts. I love everything that's been shared so far, by the way. So, for example, I am a Christian hypnotist. When I'm around Christians, there are a certain number of Christians, and there are some people who are open. There's all sorts of scales of open. But there are some Christians, for example, that believe there's no such thing as hypnosis that could be consistent with Christianity.
Yeah.
It's all devil worship. But on the flip side, sometimes when we're around hypnotists, there are certain hypnotists that maybe had some Christians that were very, abusive to them. And, like, I'm not questioning their experience, but they'll get going on Christianity about how all Christians are abusive, all Christianity is, whatever. And so obviously, once again, there's a whole spectrum of people, but some people just aren't ready to have that conversation. And it's not that I'm even bringing it up necessarily, but, is trying to get that balance of not selling out my integrity, but not picking battles that don't need to be fought, giving people space to talk if they just need to vent an emotion, and that's all it is. And trying not to get defensive, especially in those conversations when the other person's just not ready to hear it.
Big topic. Jade.
I grew up Christian. My dad would read his Bible every single night. I grew up going to religious schools. And I happen to be a hypnotist or hypnotherapist that still holds a lot of the same values, beliefs, while also, adding to it and having my own, so a little bit eclectic with it. But, I think something that's really interesting is that even in the Bible, a lot of the things that, we believe in spirituality is actually the same. And a lot of times, it may be that some Christians don't even really recognize what it is that they're reading or understand it in a different sort of perspective or way. And so I think sometimes, if you are a hypnotherapist who's Christian and you work with Christians, I think it really serves to be able to start to look at things when you're reading the Bible through a hypnotherapy perspective or through a sort of spiritual perspective, so that you can find, for example, law of attraction in there, and you can find about being in the state, right, of gratitude as if you've already received while you're praying. There's so many things that fit so perfectly. It's like we can't see the way, the whole puzzle sort of fits together, but, a lot of us aren't looking for it either. So if you start to look for it, you're going to your eyes are just going to open, and it's going to be like, wow, oh my gosh. And you probably won't have too many conflicts between, religious beliefs and what we're doing. I mean, I personally haven't. I've worked with a lot of Christians, and we're clicking right there. So I think, yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Be right with you, Mark. Lenora?
Something popped up when I had stepped away for a second. Do you remember push and pull, but when you walk with somebody? And I think Jade made a great point. There's a difference between awareness and waking up, if that's the phrase that people are using. And just when we're sharing things with people, to do the best that we can to really watch our nonverbals and to walk with them. And hey, this is an idea. This happens to be an idea that resonates with me. Do you want to look at it with me? And sharing that. And our nonverbals are our tone of voice very carefully, but also our facial expression, our hand gestures, our body posture. And the more open we can be in holding that space for their exploration, they'll decide if they want to hear more about it or not. And to understand that if they don't want to, that's okay. That's on them. It's like going to the buffet. Some people like burnt mac and cheese, and that's all I want. And that's okay. Not liking the same thing, Christianity to burnt mac and cheese, but I'm just saying, if that's what they like to enjoy, that's what they like to enjoy. And I love what Jade had shared is you can find common ground. And that's where you can relate to each other and build that rapport and build that expansion together. And if it's a fit for them, it's a fit for them. If it's not, not, that's okay too.
Yep. Exactly. Mark.
Not to open up a whole can of worms, because the only way you can get them back in is have a bigger can. But I believe that I was raised Catholic, and at some point along the way, I realized that the Catholics, like I said, or all religions, are roughly a form of hypnotism. You know, they have you breathing the same. You know, when you're praying, standing, sitting, and they put you in a nice light hypnotic trance. And then in the Catholic religion, you know, they have the homily, and that's when they feed in the post-hypnotic suggestions. And there are a lot of great suggestions there, you know, love thy mother and father, you know, don't steal, don't kill, give a third of everything you make to the church. You know, they put the, and then, you know, and, you know, that was religion 1.0, you know, and the reason why the Catholics kind of want you back every week is at some level they know that post-hypnotic suggestion only lasts about a week. So that's why they want you back in church every week. So when the Reformation came along with the Protestants, they kept the methodology, but they changed the message. And I believe that, you know, they installed the Protestant work ethic, that God loves you. God wants you to be successful. And the harder you work, the more God will love you. And, you know, I see you know, and then the televangelists or religion 2.5, where, you know, you have, you know, you have the congregation there, and, you know, even the hypnotic cadence, you know, they're passing the offering plate around, and the four corners of the area, they've got these deacons, you know, and they're all doing give to God, give to God. That's a hypnotic cadence. And I'm not saying it doesn't have it, you know, like I said, I'm not a anti-religious. Like I said, I give the Catholic religion props. They pretty much kept the lid on a planet of half civilized killer apes for a good portion that they've been around, you know. And if you want your kids to grow up to be nice people, you know, told my daughter, you know, take them to the Catholics. If you want them to be successful, higher probability if you take them to the Protestants, and you know, and you know, but religion, like I said, is, you know, again, you know, again, they use a lot of, you know, hypnotic imagery, hypnotic language, you know, they have the incense and all the other things. But like I said, not to open up, but you can be spiritual, you know, believe what you believe, and you know, and still be a hypnotist, Holly. You know, they're not in they're not in conflict to be a Christian hypnotist. Again, I think that's been woven into all religions. I hope that helps.
Thanks, Mark. And I've had this brought up to me a number of times. I even had one client that I'd worked with for a year that out of the blue let me know that I was doing Satan's work, because she decided to go back to church. Her mom wanted her to go back to church, and the priest, when he found out that she had been seeing a hypnotist, because mom, of course, let the priest know, the priest made it very clear that I was doing Satan's work and that I was casting spells upon her and all the above. And I said, well, after a year, what was the most satanic chant that I taught you? I said, you heard everything that I said. I don't put you into a trance where you can't hear my voice, because that wouldn't be productive. But I did point out some of the things that Mark pointed out is music is very trance-like, very hypnotic. Getting everybody to say the same thing at the same time. Chants and all the other things. And I said, I'm a Christian. Grew up Christian, been going to church, been baptized twice. And what's the difference in a satanic priest and a Christian priest? The direction of the message. But both are hypnotists. Pay attention to the message, not how it's delivered. And I didn't want to, I made a strong point to myself to not attack her message. Because if going back to church helped her, I just want her to be helped. Yes, every tool can be used for positive direction or negative direction. Just like guns. Here, let's touch on another explosive topic, pun intended. Are guns good or bad? That depends. How are they used? If you're feeding your family, and that's the only way, and I know people are like, oh, well, you know how to do that. If they're used for pest control, if they're used for herd control, there's a lot of things that people get so single-sided vision on. And I know that these two topics right here are very, can be very volatile. And yeah, Mark, church brings so much solace to people. Absolutely. The power of prayer for healing. It's been proven. Unquestionably, undeniably. Now, is group prayer hypnosis? Is it energy work? I mean, there's plenty of examples I can talk about of phenomena that I've experienced. One of the churches in San Diego, they were doing a prayer ring, and when I went to go join in, literally felt the energy when I was about to step into the ring. I mean, I literally stepped back out because I was like, did that just happen? Stepped back in, and it was like stepping into a warm fan, strong fan, the energy that was hitting. And I did that 3 times just because it was so visceral. And then I joined back in, grabbed hands and started praying, and the energy was palpable, undeniable. There isn't a single person on this planet that could convince me that that did not happen. Now, is that energy work? Yeah. Is that the power of prayer? Yeah. Is that hypnosis? Yeah. That's why I do what I do. I've seen incredible results, incredible things happen for people with hypnosis. I've seen people that are so down that they are suicidal to the point that they wrote out their suicide note. They had it already written out. And as a last ditch attempt, reached out to one of us. I've had 3 of them so far. So call it what you will. I know what I call it. And I'm just here to help people. And Jade, you're right. It has kept some people in line. I know diagnosed sociopaths who are good because they believe in religion. Absolutely. I actually had a roommate when I was in college who gave me a hard time for going to church. What a waste of time. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you spend all that time down there. And I said, here's the way I look at it. If, when I die, not if, but when I die, if when I die, I find out that it was all a bunch of hullabaloo and not real and all the above, I've spent my life being a pretty good person. You know, don't cheat, don't kill, don't steal, da 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 da. I got to hang out with a lot of cool people that I trusted. Our church plays amazing music, so we got to jam out. So, but on the other hand, if I decide it's all a farce, I get to do whatever I want, don't have to worry about the afterlife, and I die and I find out the other side was right. Ooh, I've heard stories about that. They may be stories, but they're not nice. So I'll just pick the side that's fun and keeps me in line and has good people. And now I get to throw this crowd, you all, into the mix. I like my groups. I like helping people. That went for a tour. Did you get your answers, Holly? I know we went on a couple of world chases here. So
We definitely got a lot of good information. I don't think that was exactly what I was asking, but I definitely got a lot of great stuff out of it. If we want to go into another topic, that's fine too. I'll kind of specify more what I was asking. There's no doubt in my mind that Christianity and hypnosis are perfectly compatible. But, so like for instance, let's say I decide to work full-time as a hypnotherapist. And I'm at church, and somebody who I know believes that hypnosis is devil worship, and they're not open to any discussion on that, their mind is closed on that subject, asks me what I do for a living. I now have a situation. Do I lie about it? Do I use different words to describe it? Or another scenario, say I'm at church and one person says, hey, I'm looking into doing hypnotherapy to feel better. And the other person who believes it's devil worship starts going on a diatribe about how evil hypnotherapy is. So I'm in a place where, maybe I could say, I know this person's interested in it, and I get a feeling that it might be good for them. And I want to give them that information, but at the same time, I don't want it to just turn into a fight between me and the person who's going off about how evil it is. And, and I know they're not open to a different answer. How do you do that kind of space of honoring their beliefs, but not biting into that trap of, oh, they're denigrating something I believe in. I'm not the one bringing up the conversation. If I were, that's a completely different situation. I'm not trying to convert them. But at what point is me not saying anything sacrificing my integrity? And at what point is me saying something just picking a fight that doesn't need to be picked, if that makes sense?
I got lots on this. Jade first.
just the most simple thing ever. And there can't even be any arguing with it because it's in the Bible. It's just, it says in the Bible that God's the only one who has the right to judge. So you can just ask a simple question, right? You could say, are you the judge or is God the judge? And that's it, and leave it at that. And you can, if you want to add in there, you can add, God is the only one who can judge my heart, and my relationship is between me and God. And again, just leave it at that. Let them feel however they want to feel or think whatever they want to think, and that's it.
Yep. One that I used was, I used to feel just the same way. I was completely wrong. And then I got to do some research, and I don't have time to explain it right now. I'm sure you've got a story, but I respect your position because I used to be there. And leave it at that. Because there was a time. For me, that's completely true. I've said it many, many times. When I met Dr. David and he invited me to sit in on his meetup, if I'd have known it was hypnosis, I'd have bounced. Because I had a skewed idea of what hypnosis was. And so I can say that looking straight in the eye. Yeah, I used to think exactly the same way you did. And then just talk to the other person on the side. Obviously, the 3 people that have called me, the things they called me haven't deterred my decision to keep going and helping people and using hypnosis and all the other means that I've been taught. So there you have it. Anybody else? That help, Holly?
Absolutely. Thank you for all those great answers.
Cool. That leaves us 22 minis left. Who's got more questions?
Those were phenomenal responses. I just wanted to add that.
Cool.
Both of you.
Anyone had a question?
Please have questions, just in case. Does anybody else have a question?
And this is where the silence sets in until you or Holly.
Go, Lenora.
The polite chipmunks. No, after you. No, really after you. No, after you. I insist.
You're so cute, though. So my question for you all is, how do you, each in your own way, stop your negative thinking when it comes barging in? What are some of the things that you do? What do you find beneficial? What do you find useful? What are your thoughts?
Okay, Jade, start off.
Yeah, so I usually let it completely envelop me. And
And the honesty comes right out. It just takes me down.
exactly. And then, once I've felt all the things that I have to feel, there's a moment and I shift and I get back to what I was doing.
I love that. Amazing honesty, Jade. I love it. Thank you.
If I, if that negative self-talk takes the form of those automatic negative thoughts, with everything, everyone, no one, nobody, everybody, everybody hates me, whatever. I just start piling them on. If those negative thoughts are going to consume me, I just make the pile so big that when I look at the pile of all the negative, I just feed into it, and I just start, generating all kind. I'm never going to be successful with this. Nobody loves me. Everybody hates me. Everything sucks. And just keep piling them up until I look at the pile and go, yeah, okay. And then I just,
Introducing that humor in there too.
yeah. Well, when you, like you said, when the pile gets so big that, you can't come up with any more negative thoughts, you look at how big the pile that you just created was, and you go, and you just let it go. It buries itself when you generate super negativity. The pile gets so big, and you look at the, it's like that works with, like I said, with the ants. With the infinitives, everything, nothing, everybody, nobody loves me. Everybody hates me. Everything sucks. Everyone's happy. And they're relationship ants. I'm never gonna have the perfect relation. Nobody knows what I'm going through. All my relationships, are always going to be terrible. You just keep piling them up, and until the pile becomes ludicrous, it topples under its own weight.
There you go. Perfect. Linda.
First of all, I have to second what Jade says. Sometimes I just sort of wallow in it. And it is kind of oddly feels good occasionally. But then what I've kind of learned to do is realize that the negative thinking isn't actually accurate. It's not factually true. So for instance, everybody hates me, nobody loves me, and then I'd have to go, no, wait a minute, there's this, and that, yeah, and this, yeah. And then if I say nothing ever goes my way, well, okay, that's not true, because this went my way, and that, so if I start being honest with myself and putting things in columns, what I'm feeling sorry for myself about is genuinely inaccurate. I get it. It feels a little bigger right now, but that's okay. It's fine to feel that way. But it's really not factually accurate. And that's, being accurate is important. So that kind of lifts me out of it. Say, okay, well, I can feel sorry for myself if I want to, but when I'm done with this, I don't need to feel this way anymore.
Cool.
Yeah, if you want to have a pity party for yourself, just put a time limit on it. Okay, I'm gonna have a pity party for myself today, but come 6 o'clock tonight, I'm done.
Can I add something in about that though? Because I actually have very low self-regulation skills just due to my early and so some people are like that, where they just get completely enveloped, and it's not on purpose, and it's hard to put a stop to it. But I just wanted to add something in about that, is that there are so many different tools, right? And like I said, things can be used for positive or negative. And so we can even take the things that we perceive as negative and use them for positive. So one of the things here is that if somebody's spiraling into, these negative thoughts about themselves, chances are there's some part of them, no matter how small it is, that actually believes that it's the truth. And I think that's a really important thing to look at, because then the question is, because you're only dealing with that part, right? Because all the other parts are like, no, that's not really true about us, right? But then we're bulldozing the part that does believe that. But the part of you that actually does believe that a little bit, if you knew that it was the truth, what would you do different? And that's the empowering part there, because if it has to do with you, like if nobody likes me, or if everybody hates me, or I just suck, or I can't do anything, then guess what? That means I can do something about it. So that's actually empowering. I think it's less empowering when we recognize it has nothing to do with us. And that's why sometimes we cope by blaming ourselves and taking it on ourselves, because it makes us feel we have some sense of control. So if we can look at it in that way and say, actually, I can do something about this, then we can do that thing. And guess what happens when you do that thing and you become that person that you would be if you knew that it was the truth that you sucked and you were bad. You don't doubt yourself now. Now you realize it's not about you and you did everything. You became that person that you really wanted to be, right? And you can't, there's no regret in that. You can get to the end of your life and if everybody treated you crappy and you did everything that you could to be the best person you could be, then aren't you happy with that you became the best version of you? So you can use, those parts that feel really negative about yourself to say, okay, what would I do different then?
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Holly.
So lots of things coming up to my mind on this one. And I don't always do it the best either. But so first of all, I did a Jordan Peterson training fairly recently. And he said something in that training that just changed my whole outlook on life, on especially this area. He said, because I scored really high on neuroticism. So I was watching his module on neuroticism. And he said, one of the first things you have to understand is just because you're experiencing neuroticism or negative thoughts, it doesn't automatically follow that you're wrong. And I think a lot of times that part of our brain that brings those negative thoughts, now, by the way, I'm not saying we should always dive into them, but step one is acknowledge that sometimes they are right, because if that part feels dismissed all the time and that you didn't even listen, it might get more resentful, it might get louder, that sort of thing. So the first couple questions I ask myself when I start having a lot of negative thoughts is, one, am I even in an emotional state where I could be objective? And two, am I in immediate danger? So for example, let's say your house is on fire. And one of the negative thoughts you have is, if I don't take immediate action, my child might die. That's not a bad thought that you just want to get rid of the thought. You want to take action. So you want the thought to motivate you to action. And it's immediate. It's, you have to take action now. You can't say, okay, I'll worry about this in a week when I'm feeling better. So if don't need to deal with it immediately, and I'm not capable of being objective, the first two things is I try to focus on my state. So let's get my posture right and hold it for, the 2.5 minutes. And then number two is I have a go-to list of people in my network that I know I can rely on to tell me what I need to do. And you want to have more than one, because you never know. That person might be at work and may not see your text for a couple hours. Sometimes I need a masculine energy to help me out. Sometimes I need a feminine energy to help me out, So different people have different strengths, but I will send a text to get out of my head and just say, hey, you know what? I'm going down a spiral here. Could you just send me a message to help break me out of that, get me outside of those thoughts? Because, once again, you could talk back to your negative thoughts and do all this other stuff, but if you're doing it from a bad state and you're not cutting the state in some way, you're not going to make a lot of progress. So assuming that it isn't necessary and you've gotten yourself back on foot, I think Mark kind of alluded to this indirectly, but Dr. Daniel Amen has a sheet of how to talk back to your automatic negative thoughts. And that's when you're going through and you're writing it down. You're getting it very specific. Is it true? Is it necessary? Take it to the end. What is the worst case scenario? Because maybe it's true, but if you look at the worst case scenario isn't really that bad. You just haven't let your mind play it. Because what will happen is the mind will play halfway through, see something bad, and will pause and won't actually play all the way through and show you what, even in the worst case scenario, what would happen. And so, practicing gratitude is another great thing to do. Meditation, getting your energy up of, the more you practice, the better you get. So there could be a big, long list, but my biggest thing is just try to tackle them from a positive state rather than trying to tackle them from being locked into that state of spiraling, if it isn't actually true and needs action.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Holly. Sabo.
Hey everybody. So good to see you guys. Yeah. So, Holly, I love what you shared tonight. A lot of great stuff. Hypnotherapy and Christianity. I love it. And before that, your thoughts were really clear and you were on point. There are also great things that you shared right now, and there is also something that I would add and maybe suggest if you're open to hear that.
Absolutely, always.
Thank you. So where one of the issues that I found where people would get stuck, and sometimes they would take seminars and they would learn things, and they would have so much knowledge of how to change the state. You know, try one of the things I heard you said, try to change the posture. And there is definitely a time for that. There is one little piece of puzzle that's missing for one of the reasons why people stay stuck. Last time I was talking about how the parts of personality, how if I say, let's say Marissa Peer, who is making $2 to $3 million per seminar, and I love Marissa. There's a lot of great things that she's teaching. I personally learned a lot from her. And also one of the cures is that you always say to yourself, you're good enough, you're worthy, you're great. And I used to believe that until I started to realize that I didn't have so much success. And so then what I started to, more I was reading Jung, more I started to realize these are just the parts of the personality, and they need to be acknowledged. They need to be heard. The main human needs are to be seen, heard, validated, and loved. And so if this little part of myself has this posture, and it also has certain way of breathing, so unless I stay with that breath, unless I stay with that posture, I'm not going to be able to hear the messages. Messages simply meaning beliefs that part of me is bringing, because the part wants to be heard. And so instead of trying to shift out of that posture, or even saying the statement of like negative beliefs, negative parts, it's really, if we just keep asking the question, what's the highest positive intention of that, there's usually going to be safety involved. The part wants to keep us safe. And what's the answer? Well, usually the major negative emotion is fear. How do we heal that? While bringing more love, more love to what? To parts of ourselves. And these parts bring that posture. These parts bring that way of breathing. These parts that we call negative, they bring anxiety, and they also bring a message. And as long as we keep that message in the shadow, as long as we keep these parts in the shadow, we are not going to have control. And then people go, okay, great. This is a part of me. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to welcome it, and I'm going to kick it out of my but the truth is that they're always there. It's us. And so it's not about forgetting something. It's just like seeing from different perspective, understanding and learning. So the right thing to do, the only way to really have a change the way we feel about something, is to welcome that part and to allow that part of us to be there as long as it needs, from the bottom of our heart. Not say, I'm going to welcome it now, this exercise, so I can get rid of it. That's not the way. Loving ourselves for everything we are. And that the easiest way to do that in my world, what I learned, is to see what kind of judgments I have for the people around me. And then those are most likely, I have parts like that I hate and deny. And those are the parts that create anxiety. And Jung said, I'm not trying to be a good man. I'm trying to be a whole man, because he knew the wholeness is what brings peace.
Awesome. Cool. And that gives us 7 minis left. One of the things I was going to share, well, I'm so advanced, I don't have any negative thought or negative self-talk. Yeah, thank you guys for laughing, because yeah, I'm human, and yes, I have plenty of that as well. One of the techniques that I've learned that helps me a lot was when we understand that we are the lead actor, the director, the writer of the script, all of the in our play, in our movie. When I start having this stuff, somebody pointed out, you're sitting here rehearsing lines for a scene that will never be filmed. You're never going to get on stage with that scene, with those lines. Why are you wasting your time rehearsing those lines over and over and over? And that has helped me. I wish I could give credit to the person that I heard that from, because I've a number of times then they're like, oh, if I should have said this, and oh, that was really dumb to do. Da, 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 da. I'll be like, wait, do I get a redo? Is this a retake? Is there? Can I go back and cut? Go back. No, I can't. Good. Stop rewriting the scripts. Stop rehearsing the lines. You got better things to do. Better ways to use this energy. So that's just another take, another angle, all these answers are amazing. That's what I love. That's why I go last, because I get to hear these things. And I need to hear them just as much as you guys do. And it makes time fly, which is why we've got 4 minis left for any more ahas, epiphanies, answers, introspects, outrospects, insects. No, wait a minute. No. Squirrels. Anybody got it? And I wanted to say earlier, hey, Mo, thank you so much for joining us. Miss you, brother. Anybody got anything else they want to share in the last few minutes we got left of Triple T number 106?
Well, I would suggest that we can also, if you guys are open, we can finish with blessings. And I definitely have sending blessings to TJ for organizing and doing this consistently for over 100 times, improving our lives, and for improving my life by giving me being a great role model to start my webinar. And really, a lot of things have changed in my life ever since then. I started live events too. Also sending blessings to Holly for being so accurate and so on point with her words, excellent vocabulary, and being right on point and really learning all the time, learning, improving. Same goes to Lenora, my friend Jade. So good to see you here. Mark, also after so many years, I met him first at David's place, and to all of you.
Oh, wow. What a great way to end. And stuff. I love this stuff. You guys are so awesome. And for those of you on YouTube, love you, Mom. Mom watches all the time. She even goes back and watches replays. What a blessing that is. And she's really getting to know you guys, and that means a lot to me as well, as you've seen a couple of times. So I feel blessed beyond vocabulary to be able to do this. And you guys are my motivation. I ain't gonna lie. I feel the pressure in the best ways to have something to offer, which was my fear for, I've said it many times, I put this off for 3 years because I was afraid that I would not have enough content for three weeks. And here we are. And I'm glad that I chose the platform that I did, because tonight was a perfect, tonight was example number 106 of why I want the second hour to be open mic, open platform, open question, because the stuff that comes out, the the information that flows from you guys helps me out. And I know it helps people out watching this and those that are watching the recording. We are creating content information. We are helping people. We don't even know how far it'll reach, which is one of my morning questioning affirmations. Whose life will I change for the better today? ... Even if I don't know about it. And you guys are all part of that. And sometimes I'm really sad that I put a 2-hour limit on it, but I'm also glad because I know that I want to respect your guys' time. I'll say it every single time. It's the one thing that I cannot recreate and give back to you. So for you to share your precious commodity here on this platform to make it what it is, I don't know that I'll ever have the vocabulary to thank you enough. I love you all. Please go out for the next week, make your life better, make other people's lives better, because in those little things we can do our part to make our world better. Lord knows the world needs it right now. So until next week, you guys are awesome. Love y'all. See ya. Bye.